Have we received any apologies, Mr. Kaso?
Madam Speaker, I have one recorded apology by Honorable Heron.
Honorable Heron's apology then is noted. Can we then proceed to look at the agenda of the meeting, honorable members? Are we happy with the agenda? If so, can somebody move for the adoption of the agenda?
I move, Honorable Speaker. My name is Pemi Machodina.
Thank you, Honorable Machodina, seconded by Honorable Bafube.
No, Speaker, I wasn't seconding. I was just wanting if we can please just add an agenda item at the end, just to look at the timeline that you had sent regarding how we will be dealing with the Zondo Commission report, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Bafube. That's an addition. So the agenda is adopted with that addition.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, may somebody second?
I second with the amendment. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. We then proceed to deal with the minutes of the meeting of the 21st of April. Minutes of the 21st of April. Yes, proceed. I'm assuming that honorable members have gone through the minutes nonetheless. Okay. Thank you very much, honorable members. Can somebody move for the adoption of the minutes?
I see the hand of Honorable Papo, ma'am.
The end of? I have no hand here.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Papo had his hand up.
Okay, I'm sorry then. Honorable Papo, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Honorable Papo? Honorable Papo, are you here? Honorable Singh?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and good morning again to all colleagues. I move for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. Adoption of the minutes having been moved. Any seconders?
Swart second, Speaker.
Honorable Swart. Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, there are some matters which we need to, which are matters arising out of the minutes. And the first one is the ad hoc joint committee on flood disaster relief and recovery. And as we know, the committee has since been established and parties are now submitting names. ANC has submitted, the DA, the EFF, and I would like to request all parties which have not submitted names of members to serve in that ad hoc committee to please do so. Honorable Frolic, are you here? Will you?
Yes, good morning, Honorable Speaker. I'm on the platform.
Thank you. May you please provide additional information on the plans for the meetings of the ad hoc committee?
No, thank you, Honorable Speaker, and good morning to the other honorable members. Honorable Speaker, I can briefly report that there's been, we've received the names from the ANC, the DA, the EFF. That was late yesterday afternoon when I spoke to Mr. Kaso. We envisage for this ad hoc committee to meet very early next week so that it can be formally constituted to start its work. At this meeting, we anticipate that there will be a report from the research unit already in terms of what has been done, in terms of commitments made by government departments and so forth. And there will also be a draft program to be considered. Also at this meeting, there will be proposals made in terms of the physical visit of the ad hoc committee to KZN that should happen within 7 to 10 days after the first meeting is set. I am in discussions with the House Chairperson in the National Council of Provinces, the Honorable Nyambi, who is broadly agreeing to this approach. And may I add, Honorable Speaker, that part of the resolution that was passed by the House is that the ad hoc committee will do the preliminary work and may identify other line function committees that will also play a role in this. I've agreed with the Honorable Nyambi that in the meantime, until the ad hoc committee will commence its work, which will be next week, we should thus not allow other portfolio and select committees to go to KZN now, because that will create confusion as to who's exactly coming there. And it will also be difficult to give interim reports on the work of the committee. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Froelich. Honourable Singh, is that a legacy hand?
Yeah, no, Honourable Speaker. Thank you. I just want to speak on this matter here and just to indicate that the so-called other parties have not submitted the names yet. I'm having a virtual meeting at 10 o'clock to come up with the names of from amongst the 10 parties. But I'm just preempting, Madam Speaker, that perhaps some of the other, I know that committees in terms of voting are 11 members, but I'm just preempting that some of the members who may not have voting rights at the meeting will want to participate because it may affect certain of their constituents. So we've dealt with it in the past where all members participate, but when it comes to voting, only 2 from the other parties, do actually vote. So I just seek your wisdom and the wisdom of Honourable Froelich on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Singh. Honourable Machotina, followed by Honourable Ko.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and greetings to all honourable members and parliamentary staff. Honourable Speaker, we have discussed the matter that Mr. Singh is alluding to. We discussed it yesterday in the Chief Whips Forum and we've agreed because there was a request from smaller parties, UDM and NFP, where they requested to be represented in the committee. We clarified that yesterday, that this is a joint ad hoc committee with 20 members, and therefore the smaller parties are represented by one party. So if they want reports, they will get reports through that party, which is IFP. However, if they want the meetings are proceeding at any level, they may participate in meetings like any other member, but you cannot add them in the joint ad hoc committee. That this is not an NA committee. This is a joint ad hoc committee of Parliament, and therefore 20 members suffice. So we cannot add more members to this committee. Thank you.
Very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable Papo.
Good morning, Speaker. I'm covered by the Chief Whip.
Covered. Thank you very much. That provides guidance on the matter, but allow me to invite Mr. Kaso for clarity purposes.
Ma'am, on this matter, I think the Chief Whip has dealt with the matter. Indeed, it was raised yesterday in the Chief Whips Forum. We indicated that currently we have 20 members. If we were to go the route that we took when we dealt with the Section 25 committee, we could end up with 34 members because you would need about 14 members, additional members of the NA, non-voting members. And the understanding in the Chief Whips Forum is that that is undesirable. And therefore we remain, we keep the committee as is at the moment. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Honourable Singh. Honourable Mr. Kaso. Honourable Singh, I'm sure that clarifies the matter, isn't it?
Yes, Honourable Speaker, I'll provide that guidance when I meet other parties later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honourable Singh. And then, Honourable Member, the other matter, which is a matter arising out of the minutes, is the processing of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry on the request by the Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition to make recommendations on the suitability of candidates for the position of the Chair of the Board of the Lotteries Commission. Committee section will provide, or are you ready to provide an update now on that matter? Advocate Dao, are you ready?
Good morning, Madam Speaker, honorable members and colleagues. Yes, the update is that the committee will be dealing with the matter next week. I got a call from the chairperson last night, but on our report, we indicated that the committee is still consulting. But the latest, as I indicated, is that the committee will deal with the matter next week. I got the call from the chairperson. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Advocate Dao. Honorable members, that is the report. Update will be given to us next week. And then the next matter on the agenda, under matters arising, is the protection of information, state information bill. And I now invite Mr. Castle to give us a report.
Madam Speaker, indeed, the bill is back in Parliament. It was returned by the President. We had some concerns with the bill. At the time, it was placed before the Justice Committee, but there was an indication that an appropriate committee must still be identified to deal with the bill. What is happening currently, Madam Speaker, is that the Legal Services Office is considering some constitutional issues around the bill in order to advise on way forward. And once that process is concluded and advice has been given to the Speaker, an indication will be given in terms of what will happen with the bill going forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Castle. Honourable members, I guess there are no comments on the matter. It was just for information. Shall we then proceed to deal with the next item on the agenda? And the next item on the agenda is a report from the committee section. Advocate Dao.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, honorable members and colleagues. The first slide responds to a question that was asked last week as to why Animal Protections Bill is not moving. The bill is before PC on Agriculture. Now, on this slide, we are showing that before the committee, there are 4 matters, 6 matters, of which 4 are being attended to. So the bill is among the 2 bills that will still be attended to by the committee. At this time, the committee is also busy with the budget votes. The next update is on slide number 4. On this slide, we show the matters that are before PC on Justice. Already, Mr. Castle has responded to a specific question that was asked. But before this committee, there are about 8 matters, and the committee is currently dealing with 3 matters, with some of them having date to finalize. Slide number 5. On this slide, we also respond to questions that were raised. The first one has already been addressed on that, the one for lotteries. Another question was with regard to the PC on Home Affairs regarding the Electoral Laws Amendment Bill. The slide shows the activities, and the committee is planning to finalize the report on the 18th of May. And another question was also asked about the matter that is before PC on police regarding inquiry into the violence and looting in Gauteng and KZN. The committee has resolved that it will wait for the report on the Presidential Panel of Inquiry and also South African Human Rights Commission reports. The Presidential Panel of Inquiry has released the report, but the Human Rights Commission has not yet done so. So the committee has decided to wait for that report. Once it is tabled and referred, then the committee will take the matter. The next update is on slide number 6. On this slide, we show that the fundraising amendment bill before PC on social development will be finalized on the 1st of June. The next update is on slide number 17. On this slide, it is the Section 94, ad hoc committee on Section 94 inquiry. On this slide, we show that the committee postponed its meeting that was supposed to be held on the 3rd in order to give the evidence leader a chance to go through the documents. And the committee also postponed the hearings that were planned for the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 10th. And on the 11th, the committee will now decide as to when will those hearings be scheduled. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Advocate Tau. Honorable members, are there any comments on the report? None. In that case, we then proceed, and I invite, I invite Dr. Mbata from the Bill's office.
Good morning, Honorable.
I'll say QT, Speaker.
I beg your pardon?
I'll say QT, baby.
And say QT.
Order, Chief Whip. Order, Chief Whip.
Protect me from the Chief Whip of the majority party. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chief Whip. Honorable. I'm blushing. Dr. Mbata, please, you may proceed to present your report.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Good morning, Honorable members and colleagues. On our report, we will only report on the updates that appears on slide number 2 and 5. On slide number 2, we have the Older Persons Amendment Bill that was introduced on Tuesday, SB 11 of 2022, as a proposed Section 76 bill. The bill was referred to the Portfolio Committee on Social Development for further processing. And we'll go to slide number 5, where we have the Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill, which was passed by the House as well on Tuesday. The bill will be forwarded to the President for assent as Act 3 of 2022. And the second official language of the bill is Afrikaans. That brings the total number of acts that are with the President to 4. So with your permission, Honorable Speaker, can I hand over to my colleague, Advocate van der Merwe, to deliver a report on Constitutional Court judgments. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Mbata. Advocate van der Merwe, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. Good morning, Honourable Speaker. Good morning, members. There's also a full report that was circulated on all matters, and from that report, members will notice that we have done follow-ups on all matters quite recently. But the one that we specifically want to report on is in respect of the Electoral Act, and it's the New Nation Movement judgment. The Portfolio Committee has concluded public hearings, provincial consultations, and the process in the committee, the deliberation process is now starting. Then there was also an application for extension of the suspensive order. In fact, we reported that this process has started the previous time that we reported on this. But we can now report that this has been filed with the Constitutional Court, and we are just waiting further directions from the Constitutional Court on how they want this matter to proceed before them. Thank you, Madam Speaker. That's the only matter that we want to report on specifically. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Advocate van der Merwe. Honourable members, are there any comments on the report provided by Advocate van der Merwe? None. I see no hands on my. Oh, there is a hand. Honourable Kwahube, followed by Honourable Singh.
Thank you, Speaker. I just wanted a little bit of clarity on that last comment that was made regarding the interaction with the Constitutional Court. I just wanted to find out, because obviously it was brought to this body before. When did we have these interactions, and what exactly are we waiting for from the Con Court at this point? Sorry, I just for my own understanding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Wafube. Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Thank you, Advocate Fundamera, for that report through you, Speaker. I noted that in the report that was sent to us, there were some other matters as well. That, for example, the one matter referred to the Department of Justice, which we have to respond to by 2023. And I'm just, expressing a view that we need to follow up on these. I see the department in 3 months hasn't given any comments. And I think we need to follow up on these so that we don't get caught out as Parliament in terms of meeting Constitutional Court deadlines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Speaker. I just wanted to ask Advocate Fundamera, the fact that an application for an extension has been filed doesn't necessarily mean that it will be granted. And there has been previous Constitutional Court judgments where extension requests have not been granted. What would be the implications if an extension is not granted, or because there's a strong possibility that the litigants involved in New Nation Movement might oppose an application for an extension? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Swart. Advocate and Dr. Mbata, would you like to comment on what has been raised by Advocate Singh?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Just to explain, so what happens now, because your application is filed with the Constitutional Court, we now have to wait for a date. So in other words, we are going to argue the case before the judges, the Constitutional Court judges, and then they will, of course, consider, ask questions, and then they might. It's very seldom that they give a judgment on the same day, and they will tell us when they will give us the judgment. So what we are waiting for is just to understand whether we are going to have a date to argue. It is also possible that they might say we just want papers. So it's just about the court process. We are waiting for the Constitutional Court to explain to us, do we have to come in and argue? Do we need to submit more papers? And what would be the date? So that is what I meant with that. In respect of the implication, in this instance, simply what will happen is that by the time that we have our next election, there must be provision for independent candidates. So if the court does not grant the extension, all that we can do is to simply proceed with the bill as soon as possible. It is not, there was no invalidity. It's not that type of judgment. It's not something where something was in action at the moment and it was declared invalid and we had a certain time. And if you reach that time, that invalidity has serious immediate consequences. In this instance, there's an order to do it at a certain time. If we don't do it, by the time we have the next elections, it will have to be in place or our elections will not be constitutional. So that is more where this is lying. It is, of course, better if we can get the extension. But like I say, there's no invalidity that has an immediate effect. And then the comment from Mr. Singh in respect of the other matters, yes, we are, in fact, from our office, we are following up with the Office of the Leader of Government Business on a regular basis. We are following up directly with the departments, and we have also asked committee section via with their support to committees to alert the affected chairpersons, so that the chairpersons of the affected committees can make direct contact with the departments, the ministers, the DGs, and also to press from that side. So we are doing something from our side and also from committee side to make sure that Parliament does make these deadlines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Fundamera. That provides clarity, honourable members. Are there any further comments on the matter? None. And if there are none, then we proceed, and I invite the programming whip, Ms. Masomo.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker and honorable members and colleagues. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity once more. We will start by, for completeness, start with the international diary. If we can just scroll a little bit down, please, to say that that one from which has started already in terms of the 15th meeting of Conference of Parties of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, which started on the 25th of April. It will end on the 8th of May in China. Secondly, the inaugural Conference of Speakers and Heads of African Parliaments, which will take place from the 9th to 11th of May in Nigeria. And thirdly is the 52nd CPA Africa Regional Conference and AGM, which will start from the 3rd to the 9th of June in Sierra Leone. Noting that any other items that we would have omitted here, we are still waiting for them to receive them so that can be populated as accordingly. Honorable Speaker and members, that I must say upfront that I would not necessarily go week by week in terms of the days. Safe to say that the framework hasn't changed, it's still the same. We are today in week 13, which will be, what to note is the 14-hour to 17-hour hybrid plenary. We'll be dealing with 6 items. At main are the reports from various committees. The first one will be a debate on a matter of national public importance, sponsored by Honorable M. Hlengwa, on the energy crisis and the threat on protracted failure of ESCOM, which is a 95 minutes debate, and then followed by the consideration of the reports from the first one, so which is the second item, is the report from the Gender Commission, followed by the report of the South African Human Rights Commission on National Investigative Hearing into status of mental health care in the SA. The fourth one is read. Let me just highlight the 6th item, Chair, which we did, I think, in the Chief Forum also there was an explanation, the consideration of the report of Standing Committee on Finance on the determination of remuneration of members of the Financial and Fiscal Commission, dated the 8th September 2021. Here, Chair, we have suggested and we're still suggesting that there should be no declarations on this item, and the reason is because the item was tabled before the House. However, there was a date text error that was made. Instead of 2021-22, it reflected as 2021. So declarations at that time was made. So the chairperson or the honorable member that will be representing the portfolio committee will then explain the rationale and then will urge the House to accept the ratification, as it were. Then the week 14 up to week 16 chairperson will be mini plenaries, and the budget vote have been populated already. And we are encouraging and urging various departments and portfolio committees that the dates that have been populated, which have been circulated even before, we are not going to be able to change it, because if we change some of the dates, then it will impact on our 3 weeks mini plenary budget votes debates, and it will impact then in June process, which we can't afford to do that, Chairperson. Other than that, the program still the same, even for the 25th of May, which is a hybrid mini sittings, which will deal with the 25th. Okay, there you are. Thank you very much. Thank you. Which then is the ordinary one in terms of the mornings and the mid mornings. Then the condolences for our late, may his soul rest in peace, Honorable M. Sokacha, and followed by the debate on Africa Day. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Then we'll get to take questions assisted by Mr. Klaus, if there will be any. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bisuma. Honorable members, are there any comments on the programs? Honorable Swartz, I see your hand.
Speaker, my apologies. I had a connection problem and I didn't follow which item there'd be no declaration on. Could I just have a repeat of the date and the item of the one that there's no declaration on?
Okay. Honorable Machutina.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, in accepting the program. Honourable Swartz is item number 6 in today's order paper. That was tabled in the previous House sitting, but there was an error on the date, so it is just correction for correct records of Parliament. So there's no debate on that. It's just a correction by the chairperson. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I know this matter might be viewed as a matter that is supposed to be taken to rules, but I feel that it does not need rules. It is a matter of questions where there are 6 questions a day or per cluster. So what we want to really plead for is that when we know the rule is strictly 3 hours, 1,500 hours to 1,800 hours. However, if there is a question that is already on the debate, let's say it's question number 6, which started at 5:45 and it's going to finish at about 6:20. Let's allow that question to finish. Let's not cut the question in the middle when there are 2 or 3 outstanding follow-up questions. I know one can say I must raise that thing to rules, but I don't think it really needs rules, because some presiding officers does that, some don't. But also the table staff at times does not really fully assist. For instance, yesterday it happened like that. So this is just a plea that let's complete the question that we've started, even if we go just beyond 1,800 hours as per the rules. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. Honorable Papo, followed by Honorable Singh.
Speaker, the Chief Whip is correct. We should do that, because if 2 follow-up questions have been asked and 2 are remaining, and then we suddenly just cut, it just for those members who already were thinking that they would ask follow-up questions, it becomes clumsy. I don't think anything will collapse if we go until 6:10 or 6:05. I think it's an issue which it's more of practice, because some of the presiding officers have done it. They've allowed all the follow-up questions on that question to be asked and not start a new question. So I think the Chief Whip is making an important intervention, because it just for practical purposes, not the violation of any rule. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Papo. Honorable Singh.
Honourable Speaker, I agree with my other 2 colleagues. But just to raise another issue that may come up in my other party meeting, in the past we've had opportunities where the other parties cannot participate in all the budget votes because they clash. And sometimes a member might have a preference for, let's say, justice, and may want more time on justice. And we've had probably an extra minute is added. So I'm not asking for a response now, it is precedence, but can we have some guidelines on that kind of situation so that by tomorrow we have those guidelines that I can share with the other parties? Thank you. I think Honourable Frolick and Mr. Castle know what I'm talking about, and so does the Chief Whip. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Madalan Tombela.
Good morning, Honourable Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Honourable Speaker, I just wanted to fully agree with what the Chief Whip has raised, supported by Comrade Papo, which this issue of questions at the end of time, it's very, very problematic, and I hope it will be taken up immediately with the table staff as well, so that we don't have that confusion at the end of the session, because it really causes a lot of chaos. I'm glad that it's going to be addressed. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Papo. Honorable Papo. Oh, it's a leader's hand. Oh, okay. Honorable members, that concludes this discussion on the matter. May I now, there was an item which was added to our agenda by Honorable Kwahube on the matter of the Zondo Commission report. And maybe I should allow her to then introduce the matter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Speaker. I will be brief. You will remember, members, I think it was on the 10th of March, the Speaker had sent out a timeline or at least a process document detailing how we should, or at least in broad terms, how we would deal with the report once the President tables it to Parliament. And the President has, upon the final report being given to him, he has about 4 months to then table an action plan, which he will table to the Speaker, to the House, for us to look at. And we probably then looking at around October for that to happen. And so, however, the reason why I'm bringing this up, Speaker, and I'm requesting that we look specifically now at that timeline, is that if one looks particularly at the report which dropped on Friday, which is Part 4, Volume 3. There are now specific sections which deal with the functions of Parliament, which of course would not be contained in the report that the President would table before. And I just want to read a quick quote in paragraph 1575, where it says, "Before I conclude, I need to ask this question. Where was Parliament as all these things were happening at ESCOM?" And lists a whole lot of things about what Parliament should and didn't do, at least in the view of the Commission. So, Speaker and members, what I am asking is that while the President will obviously table the report, what he's going to be tabling is a report with implementation plan as it pertains to the functions of the executive. But now what we are seeing is that there are sections of the report which pertain to the functions of Parliament, or at least where Parliament would have erred or where there are gaps in Parliament. So what I'm asking is that I think we should amend the timetable, Speaker, that we had, or at least the processing that you had put forward, because once the final report in June lands of the Commission, there's absolutely no reason why Parliament cannot start its own process, or at least set up its own systems to look specifically at the role of Parliament as it pertains to state capture and how and where we will deal with those sections of the report. That is not something that needs to wait for the President, because the President is not going to proclaim or make any proclamation on the role of Parliament, but will be speaking rather to what the executive, the implementation of the executive is. And so my plea with the NAPC is that can we look at starting sort of mapping out processes on how we will deal with Parliament's role in dealing with the Zondo Commission, particularly as it relates to parliamentary oversight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kwahube. Mr. Kaso.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, I just want to highlight two issues. One, Part 3 of the report, and the second one relates to the report, the complete report. Part 3 of the report was submitted to Parliament by the President, and that report was tabled, and the legal services, ourselves, we are in the process of advising Speaker in terms of how the matter should be taken forward. That part of the report deals with certain members of Parliament, former and current members of Parliament. And then there's the rest of the report, which is likely to be submitted in October. In view of what the Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition is saying now, I think we're going to have to just provide proper advice to the Speaker in terms of how to process the matters that have since been raised. But the understanding has always been that Parliament would await the final report, submit it to the Rules Committee, and then the Rules Committee would provide guidance. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Kaso. Chief Whip?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think when you brought the matter to us as NAPC, you unpacked how the process is going to unfold. We, as Parliament, have not instituted a state capture commission to look at the state capture. It was through the president in cabinet, and therefore, in accordance to the rules, the president is supposed to bring the report formally to Parliament. Then we act thereafter. I don't understand the actual report to be tabled so that we can follow the two processes. Their report is not going to vanish anyway. That report we're going to deal with as Parliament, but we cannot be taking report on piecemeals. Let's allow report to come in fully. However, let Mr. Carson and team in the meantime work out on what we already have. But it will be a wrong precedence where we're just going to run in front and just capture any report that come across Parliament when it's not formally tabled in holistically. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Honorable Papo, followed by Honorable Singh.
The Chief Whip is correct. I don't understand even that code which was made. It was an out of context kind of code. In a huge report, just made that code to convince us to run ahead. Let the report come. We're going to deal with this report, particularly on aspects. But maybe, as Mr. Kaso said, they will advise you. But I was surprised because I thought we had agreed on the process. But the member wants us to change, which I'm not convinced about, but let's hear on that process. Maybe what she's raising will then fit into the advice you'll get from our legal services.
Thank you very much, Honorable Papo. Honorable Singh?
No, Honorable Speaker, and I agree that the advice by Honorable Traso that we are going to receive will be something that we would need to consider. But I think what Honorable Kwarube is saying is that, we have to be alive to the dynamics of the situation, and we wouldn't like to find ourselves at the end of the year not having done anything. So let's await that, but there will certainly be a lot of pressure on us to deal with that report as it pertains to Parliament and some of the members of Parliament. So we'll await Mr. Kraso's advice to you and you tabling that particular report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. Honorable Natasha Mazon.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to all our colleagues for their inputs. Madam Speaker, what struck me, and it struck a real chord with me, was the President's address to us when we discussed the state of disaster and the re-implementation in it. And he mentioned two things that really brought home the importance of what Parliament is doing and what Parliament is trying to achieve. And that is, he said that there would never be looting happening again as it happened during COVID, and that there would never be a situation allowed as happened during state capture. And I found myself sitting there with a glimmer of hope in my heart, thinking, well, we're really going to take on these big issues that have been problematic in Parliament, that have caused us difficulty in Parliament. And I also had a great deal of trust in yourself, and I still do, and the previous speaker, Thandi Modise, in the way you refused to in any way be sidetracked from a mission that you knew was completely important to our democracy and to our Parliament. And I think that what we see is that we see a nation suffering from fatigue. It's a fatigue that we...
Sorry, Honorable Mazoe, will you get to the point on the matter of the Zondo report and how Parliament will deal with the matter? because now you are making a political statement.
Okay, all right. Okay. I understand, Madam Speaker. But what I'm trying to say is, if we don't deal with the Zondo Commission report ASAP, it is going to be a case of the country looking at us and saying, typical Parliament.
Honorable Mazzoni, we have proposed a process on how to take the Zondo report forward once the President has presented the report to Parliament. Now, I take serious exception when you suggest that if Parliament does not, of course, Parliament has committed that once the President presents the report to Parliament after 4 months, in fact, the President will not just be providing us with a report, he'll be submitting a plan of action on how to deal with the recommendations on the Zondo Commission report. And Parliament will then deal, amongst others, with areas which directly affect their work of oversight in the different portfolios. So there is no doubt that Parliament will deal with the Zondo report. The fact that there's a delay in doing so because we are waiting for President to make that submission does not in any way take away the responsibility. We are not shunning away from the responsibility of dealing with the Zondo report. So that is why I'm saying, honorable members, you are in fact out of order because now you are making a political speech on the matter when we here at this forum have agreed on how we will take this process forward once the President has presented the report. So it's not like Parliament is shunning away its responsibility of oversight on this matter. And I think I will not allow, because now you are making a political speech, somebody else from another party will come in, and this is a programming committee, honorable member. If honorable members wish to engage further on this matter, please go and engage on it at the level of the chief whips and bring us a proposal on what it is that you want to do beyond what we are currently doing as Parliament, which is first to get legal opinion on which legal opinion, by the way, is on my table. And then there are some areas which we're going to be dealing with, and then we take the process forward. I think it's just unacceptable to get what the undertones in your input, which suggests that Parliament may be shunning away from its responsibility. I thought all
Madam Speaker, I must tell you, I find that offensive. I think that I've been nothing but polite. And there's certainly no undertone.
Honorable Mazzoni, in fact, you are right, it's not an undertone. In fact, you've said it. You are saying if Parliament does not, when we have said Parliament will do A, B, C, D, and E once the President has presented the report. And that is the issue I'm raising with you. You are right maybe to be offended when I say undertones, because it's not undertones, it's what you have said. Honorable Korenov, you have your hand up, and I now give you the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Good morning, Speaker, and good morning, members of the committee. I fully agree with the Speaker, what you just said, and I strongly suggest that we close this matter here in this meeting. You've just given the way forward, which is the correct one. The dates for submission of the Zondo Commission reports, the date of the President submitting the report to Parliament is all in the public domain. The report's on the website of the Presidency. So what I suggest, we agree with what you just said, and we close the matter in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Korenov. Honorable members, Honorable Kwahube, I think that provides clarity to you that we as Parliament continue, particularly I want to speak on behalf of the presiding officers, that we have given whatever directive or what on the preparations for receipt of that report from the President, and areas which would have to be processed and how they would be processed if needs be. Anything else, if political parties feel strongly about discussing this matter, should now go and discuss it at the level of the whippery, where you'll engage in a political discussion on the pros and cons of what will be done by Parliament as agreed on in this programming committee at the meeting of the 10th of March or April. So, honorable members, I now proceed to that ends, and I close the debate on this particular matter, and we then deal with announcements. If there are any announcements?
None from my side, Madam Speaker. Just to emphasize that next week we will be doing mini plenaries on budget votes, and those sessions are virtual. But we will send out to the whippery practical issues around the issue of mini plenaries of next week. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaso. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of this meeting. I thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned until next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker.
Recording stopped.
Speaker. Stuart, Speaker.
Chief Whip, Carlos Njaba. I have such a